Hello everybody, and welcome to the Eververse podcast. And today is episode 5. This is where the fun begins. So hello everyone, welcome back. And today it's going to be a fun day. We're going to do something a little bit different from the Eververse podcast. And today we're actually going to be doing a review. A movie review to be specific, and we have chosen to do The Phantom Menace. Now, I wanted to do this for a while. I wanted to review all the Star Wars, and I mean all of it, not just the movies, but the shows, games, anything you can think of. I just wanted to do Star Wars, because I love Star Wars. If you have been watching Eververse games, you'll know that I love Star Wars so much that I have played Jedi Fallen Order twice on the channel. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. I hope you have fun, and let's get on with it, shall we? So, The Phantom Menace came out in 1999. In the United Kingdom, it came out on the 16th of July, and it made over $1 billion in the box office, and it had a budget of over $100 million, and it was phenomenal, because I wasn't born in 1999, I was born a couple of years later. But I remember my mum saying it was amazing because it had been so long since the original trilogy. And in my eye, it was kind of like how the sequel trilogy came about. And not everyone enjoyed The Phantom Menace when it came out, because all the prequel trilogy as a whole, because obviously everyone was like, it's not like the originals, what's going on here? But personally, I like The Phantom Menace. I like it a lot. I think it was a really good way to reboot the Star Wars franchise, even though technically it didn't need a rebooting, because obviously it's still extremely popular. Who starred in The Phantom Menace? Well, the Qui-Gon Jinn was played by Liam Neeson, and obviously Obi-Wan Kenobi is played by Ewan McGregor, and obviously he's still playing Obi-Wan Kenobi with the show. I watched episode 5 of Obi-Wan Kenobi this morning. It was amazing. I was just like, oh my god, Mom, look who it is. No spoilers from me today, don't worry, but I do highly recommend watching episode 5. It was just... it was the bee's knees, honestly. It was just amazing. I personally think it was a really good way to kick off the prequel trilogy. So if you haven't watched The Phantom Menace and you need a bit of a rehash of what the plot is, basically Jedi Knights Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi have to stop the Trade Federation and their blockade on the planet of Naboo, and helping Queen Amidala, who is the elected ruler of the Naboo system. While travelling on their way and basically escaping from Naboo, they have to land on the desert planet of Tatooine, as we see in the original trilogy. Basically, the hyperdrive of their ship gets broken. It needs replacing, so they have to make a pit stop, and they basically crash land on Tatooine. Tatooine is obviously a very, very familiar planet. It's basically, in my eyes, it's the heart of Star Wars. Everything happens on Tatooine. Everything comes from Tatooine. Is it Star Wars if Tatooine isn't mentioned, or at least featured? So, I personally love the cinematography of The Phantom Menace. I think it was really beautiful. I think the CGI, although could be better in parts, I think it was used well, I believe. And obviously Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn meet Anakin Skywalker, as who we all know is basically, as a character, is the heart of Star Wars in himself. It's his trilogy, we learn everything about him. We learn why he fell to the dark side and became Darth Vader, but obviously he's just a little boy in this film, so we're like, how did he become innocent to being extremely, evil? As well as meeting Anakin Skywalker, they come across a Sith Lord known as Darth Maul, and it begs the question, have the Sith returned, or is this just, is it an anomaly? Darth Maul, I think, was used well in the film. He was menacing, he served his purpose, and obviously he, quote unquote, died in the Phantom Menace, and I do think it was brilliant how they brought him back. Because I remember talking to my mum one day, and Darth Maul's her favourite character, and she was like, where is he? He can't be dead, he needs to be used more. And obviously he does. I think Darth Maul was used brilliantly in the Clone Wars. They brought him back without it seeming why he came back. There was no unanswered questions with Darth Maul. He was dead, he came back, end of story. I think one of the things I love about the Phantom Menace is that it shows a side to the Star Wars franchise that we didn't see in the original trilogy. Obviously in the original trilogy, it's a civil war between the Rebellion and the Empire. We see enough planets for it to be, you know, phantasmagorical. We see quite a few in the originals, but in the prequels, well, in all the franchise, in the prequel era, I don't really call it a trilogy, I call it the era, because obviously so many shows have come out as well that feature in the prequel trilogy that I do think the prequel trilogy of movies did a really good job of showing that there are so many more planets than we know. There's loads, and I think we were shown a few good ones in the first film, in The Phantom Menace. We saw Tatooine, we saw Naboo, we saw Coruscant. We didn't see any more than that, but we did see different like species of alien from those planets and from loads of planets. And out of those three, I think Naboo was my favourite. I just love Naboo. I hope to go to the lake where Attack of the Clones was filmed. I think it shows what kind of character Padme is, as well as just showing the complete contrast between Anakin and Padme. With Anakin, he's from Tatooine, you know, it's a desert planet, it's harsh, it's cruel. Naboo is a lot gentler, which Padme is, and I think the cinematography did a really good job of showing how beautiful Naboo was. I think the planets as a whole do reflect on the characters. Like I said, Anakin, he's like a crystal in the desert. You know, they find him on Tatooine. He's there and he helps them because that's what his mother taught him. He needs to be good, and he did a really good job. Jake Lloyd, I think, did a really good job at showing the innocence of Anakin, because he was as a child. You know, he was a slave. He never lost hope when he was a child, even though his life wasn't nice. It was cruel, but he held on. He was strong. And obviously in Attack of the Clones we see the shift of him even then. And I know a lot of people said in Revenge of the Sith, one of the critiques I read was that it felt like the snap to the dark side was just instant, but it wasn't. It's been there since the beginning. What makes a good protagonist? So this is a question that I often ask myself as a writer, because as a writer you have to have a protagonist in order to move the story forward. But what a lot of people get confused between protagonist and antagonist is that a lot of people do think it means a good guy versus a bad guy, and that's not always the case. For me, a bad guy can be a protagonist as long as they drive the plot forward, which is what we see in like the Joker, or just trying to think off the top of my head, Venom. Technically Venom is technically a bad guy in the comics, but in the film, in the films we see him drive the plot forward, so we often think it's a good guy, if you know what I mean, even though technically he's an anti-hero. He's not even a villain, he's an anti-hero, but sidetracking, turning to the point I'm on. What makes a good protagonist? So for me, it has to be someone that the audience can relate to, or at least understand why they're the way they are. And what I like about The Phantom Menace is it's quite hard to pick who the central protagonist is. Because like I said, the prequel trilogy is Anakin's trilogy. It's how he rose to the dark side. It's like how he fell from the light and rose to the dark. So, for The Phantom Menace though, we don't see him straight away. We don't see him for think maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, not even, maybe more than that. We don't see him straight away. They find him by chance, and then, you know, you can say, oh, it's the Force. The Force works in mysterious ways. No, but who is the protagonist of the Phantom Menace? That one I think's a bit harder to answer. In my head, when I first asked myself that, I'd probably say Qui-Gon Jinn, because it seems he is like the one who's driving the plot forward. It's his choice to take Anakin, it's his choice to bet on him, it's his choice to get the part by entering him into the race, even though Anakin's like, oh, you should do it because I don't mind, I will do it for you, I could die. But obviously it's him, he's the reason why Anakin even becomes a Jedi, because Obi-Wan was like, why are we picked up another perfect life form, dude? Qui-Gon just like, silence, Padawan. No, but I like Qui-Gon Jinn, because a lot of people on Tumblr I've seen say, would have Anakin fallen to the dark if Qui-Gon hadn't died? And that is something that we'll probably never know. I don't think he wouldn't have fallen as quickly, because something we see in Phantom Menace is Obi-Wan, how he works as a character. He obviously changes, which I think is good about him, but there are some times where I'm like, Obi-Wan, come on, dude. Put a bit of trust into Anakin, please. Well, obviously this is the film where they meet, so Obi-Wan is obviously still a Padawan himself. He's not a master yet, he's still learning himself, and he even is against it. He even questions Qui-Gon. He's like, why can't you just listen to the temple? Why can't you listen to the council, master? Why? And Qui-Gon, which I love about Qui-Gon, is that he's not as though he's disobedient or doesn't follow orders. It's more like he can make the decision himself. It's his mind and how it works, and he won't do something blindly. He'll think for himself, which I think what Obi-Wan doesn't do as such. Although arguably you could say Obi-Wan is his own mind. He is. But to me, in the Phantom Menace, he questions Qui-Gon as well, which means he isn't following blindly, and he's not as bad as Anakin in the other films, but he does question things, which I think is good, but I do think it's bad in a way. But like I said, I think Qui-Gon is the catalyst for the whole franchise in a way. He's the reason Anakin's even there. But then you could say, what if they never found Anakin? Well, maybe they wouldn't have all died, you know? No, but it's an excellent point. I think he even knew that Padme was the queen straight away, and he was just like, I'm just gonna badmouth her a tiny bit. She's a child, she may be a queen, but she's 14. Which does bring me on to Padme. So, arguably, you could say Padme is the protagonist of the story, because it's her conflict. She's the one who has something to fight for in this film, because it's the conflict of the film is that they need to save Naboo from the Church Federation. And Qui-Gon is like, we'll help, but we can't fight for you, we're not warriors. And that changes, doesn't it? So you could say Padme is the protagonist of the story. This one is really, I think this one is up to the audience's interpretation who they see as the central protagonist. But you can have more than one, which is what I love about Star Wars, is that there are so many stories flowing all at once, connecting to each other and entwining, that it is really hard to see who is the clear path, who has the clear path, and whose story it revolves around. Yes, it is Anakin's trilogy, but we're just focusing on the first film. And for me, I think maybe Qui-Gon and Padme it's their stories more so than everyone else. Anakin, obviously, is without question, it is his story, because he's the reason they even win. He's the one that blows up the bloody droid ship. He's the one that wins the pod race, so they get the hyperdrive back. Otherwise, they would have been stuck there for a hell of a long time. But he is... Hold on, sorry. He is just a child, so it does, it begs the question, doesn't it, really? So now we've answered the question of the protagonist, or at least we've debated the point of the protagonist, we move on to the antagonist, which is, as I've mentioned before, the antagonist, if the protagonist drives the plot forward, the antagonist drives the plot backward. And obviously, as I've said, the antagonist doesn't necessarily have to be a villain. It can be a good guy, or, who we think as the good guy, because you see it a lot in films where we follow the story of the bad characters, and the good characters are like the police and things like that. The people who are supposed to be protecting us, we will see as the bad guy because of perception. I think a good example of this is, ironically, the bad guys, because technically, although they are misunderstood characters, the bad guys, are criminals. So it's really weird, but with Star Wars, it is clear who the antagonist is. Overall, it's Darth Sidious, but in this film, although it is Darth Sidious, we have a couple. So let's think. So the main antagonist, I'd say, is the Trade Federation, as obviously Darth Sidious is. Let's think of Darth Sidious as the head antagonist. So no matter what happens, it will be him, because he's the one who's the mastermind behind it all. So let's think. We have the Trade Federation. So they're the ones who plant the blockade in Naboo. They're the reason that the people of Naboo are dying. He's the reason that Padme has to flee and save them another way. And obviously they're the reason that she ends up going back as an act of bravery, which I think I loved. I remember when I was a kid, I used to think Padme was really boring, but when I got older, I was thinking, no, Padme she's a good heroine. I think she is someone who we should look up to, and she is definitely the Leia character of the trilogy. But yeah, the Trade Federation, we see a lot in Star Wars. We obviously see them all the way through the prequel trilogy. We see them in the Clone Wars an awful lot. They're pricks. They are literally so annoying. I hate the Trade Federation. They're a nightmare, aren't they? Like, they keep trying to kill Padme. Padme's like, nah, I ain't dying. I'll die in the third one. But yeah, so they are the main protagonist of the film. Who else do we have? We have Watto. Technically, Watto is an antagonist, especially on the Tatooine section, because he's like the reason that they can't get apart straight away, because I don't accept Republic credits, sorry. And obviously he is the owner of Anakin and his mother. I never know how to pronounce the name. I always say Shmi, which is technically right, but it always sounds like I'm saying the pirate off Peter Pan. But yeah, so Watto is an antagonist in that bit, because he's like, if I just accepted Republic credits, then maybe no one would be dead. Maybe it would have been fine. Darth Maul, obviously an antagonist. He is obviously underneath Darth Sidious. He was his apprentice. And he kills Qui-Gon as well. Stabby stab. And obviously we see Darth Maul become a bigger antagonist in the Clone Wars. I will be doing a proper analysis of the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars is so big that I wouldn't be able to do it on one video. I'd have to do it on a few. But Darth Maul. But like I said, Darth Sidious is the main antagonist. Obviously we'll go more in depth with Darth Sidious as we carry on this series, but Darth Sidious is literally the reason everything happens. But it's weird, because Darth Sidious, in a really strange way, is an antagonist and a protagonist at the same time. Because as Palpatine, more so in Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, he is the reason the plot moves forward, because he needs it to. He needs the plot to move forward so he can enact his evil plan. Then he straight up just becomes an antagonist, especially in the originals. He's just like, oh, I'm evil, I'm straight up evil, I did all my, side chicken a while ago now. I'm bad. Literally, he will play I'm bad when he's just chilling in his throne. He'll be like, yeah, boy, I don't need to pretend anymore, I'm straight up evil. But yeah, I think roundabout way, there are quite a few antagonists in the Phantom Menace as a whole. It's really weird, but really strange. Then you just have straight up bad guys. You don't even need a bad guy to be an antagonist. They're just there, be annoying. Sebulba. Sebulba's there. He's not an antagonist as such. Although you could say he is because of the pod racing. But Anakin wins, so, is that an act of antagonism? Yes. It's mostly just him being a dick, though. Now, let's get on to one of my favourite parts of all of Star Wars, the music. Now, one thing I love about the music of Star Wars is that the music itself tells a story. It is brilliant. John Williams is a genius. When I was in high school, I took music as a GCSE, and I had to do one of my music that I had to learn and read and analyse was the title scroll and the Rebel Blockade Runner from it's actually from A New Hope, but the title scroll is on all the films, so I can talk about it here. It's brilliant. It is, I don't know how to describe it. It's not just a march, it is like an anthem. You hear that, you know what's going down. Why I particularly enjoy it about the music is the use of motifs. We see it in A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi with Leia. Leia has a really good theme. You hear that, you know she's there, even if she's not there in person. It is the use of a piccolo. It's woodwind, it's gentle, it's pretty, it's lovely music, and you're like, oh, sense of hope. It's like the Binary Sun theme. You hear that, you know it's a little bit melancholy, but it's so uplifting, and you're just like, oh, Luke, don't worry, buddy, you'll go and save the world one day, buckaroo. Now, the music with The Phantom Menace, I think, for me, that's what makes it a good film, not the plot. Even though it is a good plot, it's a solid plot the film has. It's just the music just makes it chef's kiss. But John Williams just does an excellent job of the music. I think that's one of the highest points of Star Wars, their music choice. With Obi-Wan Kenobi at the moment, we've got Natalie Holt. I think Natalie Holt was excellent composer. She did it for Loki. Loki, I will do a review of Loki because I want to. I enjoyed Loki, but I think the music made it excellent. Because there were some points in Loki with the story where I was like, what's going on? Now, I love Loki. Just to put it out there, I did love Loki. It could have been a lot stronger than it was, but I think Natalie Holt did an excellent job with the music. And obviously, John Williams is doing the music as well for Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I think was good. I don't think you can have Star Wars without him. Even if, look at Rogue One, he didn't do the music for that, but his themes were used because they're good. If they weren't good, people wouldn't keep using them. Look at the Kiner brothers with the animated shows, like the Bad Batch. Omega's theme reminds me of Leia's theme so much. It's innocent, it's beautiful, it's hopeful. Hope is literally the main message of Star Wars. No matter how dark it gets, there will be light somewhere along the lines. So what about the music of The Phantom Menace? So obviously we begin with the title crawl. I think that's what people loved. Because this was a new film, they needed to do something different that wasn't like the originals. They did that. The music was nostalgic, but it was meant to be there. If it wasn't used, I think people would have been annoyed. I think people would have been like, why? Why? It's like the Jurassic World films. They keep using their theme because it's a good music. If it was bad, you change it, but there's no need to change what's perfect. I think one of my favourite pieces of music from Star Wars isn't actually in Phantom Menace as far as I can remember. I don't think it is because it doesn't need to be. It's the Across the Stars theme. I love that theme. It's Anakin and Padme's song, and obviously this is the film where they meet, Phantom Menace. It's a little bit weird because of the age difference, even though it's not technically that much. It's just weird because he's a little boy, she's a teenager. But obviously there's no love there yet. They're just there. And we see Across the Stars. We know what it's about, and it's so sad when she dies because I think it's that song, but they changed it to minor, and it's sad because it's a tragedy. And I know you might be thinking, why are you talking about Across the Stars when you're supposed to be talking about Phantom Menace? Sorry, I think it was necessary though. One of my favourite pieces of the music from the Phantom Menace is actually the end music. You know, when it's like, we won! Yes! And Padme's in that really cool pink dress. I love that dress. I used to have a figure. I don't know what happened to him, but I had 3 Padme figures when I was little. It was the night dress in the Revenge of the Sith. It was the silver dress she wears with the really cool headdress in the Phantom Menace, and then the pink one right at the end of Phantom Menace. There's so many bloody dresses, isn't there? I was like, why is there so many dresses? I made a joke when we were watching Phantom Menace the other day, and I was just like, oh, they're about to go into battle, Padme, hold on, I need to change my outfit first. Like, they could be dying, and Padme was like, hold on 1 second, I'm not in the right aesthetic to die. No, but it actually reminds me, I will talk about this more in depth in Revenge of the Sith, but when she dies, I like that what she dies in is just a white dress, because obviously she just had fucking Leia. It reminds me of the dress that Leia wears in A New Hope. It's simple, because at the end of the day, she is a beautiful woman, and inside and out, Padme was the epitome of hope. She was the one that was like, there's still good in him, which is why I always say it, Luke reminds me of Padme more than he reminds me of Anakin. I think Leia's more like Anakin and Luke is more like Padme, which you can kind of see in Phantom Menace with the young Anakin. When I remember when I was little to watch, I was like, oh, it's Luke. And everyone was like, no, it's Anakin. I was like, oh, that makes sense. But the music, I think, is really hopeful, and it's really, because this film isn't dark. Yes, bad things happen, but it's not overly dark. Yes, someone dies. Life's full of death. Qui-Gon's fine. He comes back as a Force ghost. Yes, but just props to John Williams for doing an amazing soundtrack. Now we come to the final question then. How do I personally rate the Phantom Menace? Now, before I get into my opinion, I asked my mum what she thought, because she loves the Phantom Menace and she loves Star Wars as a whole, so I thought I'd get a second opinion. My mum said 8 out of 10, which I kind of have to agree with. I wouldn't say it's 10, but I think I said last episode, I'm very biased when it comes to films. If a film is good and I really like it, I'll just say 10. It doesn't matter how bad the film is. If I enjoy it, I'll be like, oh, it's 10 out of 10 for me. And I was like, you say that about everything. And I was like, I'm very easy to please. No, but out of the prequels, I'm going to say Revenge of the Sith was my favourite. There's something about the Revenge of the Sith that the first two didn't have, and I love the first two. Attack of the Clones, I think, was really good. I think that one was actually underrated. I think my mum says the overuse of CGI was what annoyed her, and I was like, yeah, I get that, because it doesn't matter what you think of the sequels, their use of practical effects was good. A lot of people think it's a lot of CGI. It is a fair bit of CGI, because you need a fair bit, but there was a lot of practical stuff, whereas in, like, especially in Attack of the Clones, they used a lot of CGI and green screen because it was there, and they thought, let's just use it. Which is what I think The Mandalorian, in particular, is good. I told my mum they don't use a green screen. I can't remember the name for it, but they actually use this weird dome thing that has the pictures in, which they will animate. But there's not much actual green screen, which I think is good. I think it's good to not use green screen as much as you can. I think a bad example of, a good example of overuse is the Alice in Wonderland film by Tim Burton. I love that film, but I remember watching the special features when I was younger, and the actors were like, it's bad, which is why they ended up using a blue screen for Alice Through the Looking Glass, because the overuse of CGI, you can't, if it's done well, it's good, but if you overuse it and it's bad, you can tell, like, the actors got sick because of the overuse of CGI and the green screen. But why am I bringing this up? Because of the Phantom Menace. What I like about the Phantom Menace is that there are practical effects, and those practical effects are good. I think they should have done a lot of what they did in the prequels, because back in the originals, because when they did the originals, they didn't have the technology we have we had during the prequels being filmed, which is why I think George Lucas went a little bit haywire. He was like, oh my god. It's like when a kid goes into a candy store, they're like, I'm going to have everything. I wouldn't necessarily say the CGI makes it a bad film. No, because The Phantom Menace was a good film. It had a good plot, the characters were good. A lot of people say it was cringy. I don't personally see it as cringy. There was a bit where Anakin's like, yippee! And I'm like, why is he saying yippee like that? But Jake Lloyd got so much hate, and we all know what happened to him, which he didn't deserve. He was a kid. And I saw someone being horrible about Vivian Lyra Blake, who's playing Princess Leia, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, people saying she's shit. I was like, she's 10, don't be mean, it's going to be Jake Lloyd again, we don't need that. No, they're children at the end of the day. They're not going to be as perfect as adults are, but I think both of them did a really good job. Jake Lloyd, I think, did a really good job of playing Anakin. He had to live up to the fact that he had to play a young version of Darth Vader. And you might say, well, it's not the same. I was like, Darth Vader is Anakin, though. It doesn't matter if they're the same person. So, I think it was good. Ewan McGregor was like, Qui-Gon Jinn. Liam Neeson did a really good job of Qui-Gon Jinn. I really wish he came back to do some more, but I understand why he didn't. But I was like, please, we need more. I think it was just good. Natalie Portman did a really good job of Queen Amidala. I really like Natalie Portman in prequels. When I was younger, I thought she was boring, but I think that was just the fact I saw loads of lightsabers and I was like, wow. But when I watch the films now, I'm like, no, Natalie Portman did do a good job. And also Keira Knightley, we should say Keira Knightley did a good job of playing decoy Padme, because I remember I was watching a review of The Phantom Menace and someone was saying that they got confused at which one was which at times, and I remember last time I watched Phantom Menace, there's a bit where Anakin goes to say goodbye to Padme and she's, quote, not there. She is there. She's as Queen Amidala in that scene, and you can tell it's her because of her face and the fact that she's smiling at him, because she's like, oh, he's saying goodbye, but I can't say it to me because I'm supposed to be a decoy. No, but hold on a second, headphone falling off. But no, I just have to say it was good. So, how would I rate The Phantom Menace? I'm going to go with 8.5 out of 10. Maybe 9. I wouldn't say 10, because I feel like there's bits where it's missing something. But it is an excellent film, in my opinion. I really like The Phantom Menace, and I really hope that people really adore the sequels as much as they've come to love the prequels. You can disagree with me, that's okay. I know not everyone loves the sequels. I like them, but yeah. So there we go. I'm going to say 8.5 out of 10 for The Phantom Menace. So, we've come to the end of episode 5. I really hope you've enjoyed today. I really enjoyed recording, it was a lot of fun. Next time, we'll be doing something a bit different. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to talk about next time, but I will be reviewing Attack of the Clones soon, so I do hope you'll come and listen in for that. Remember, you can send me like a message saying if you want to be a part of it, or you want to send like a message saying what your thoughts are of it, because I love listening and I love reading, so do that if you will. On the channel, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm thinking of doing, I think I said last time, I'm going to do Cyberpunk, but I might do something a little bit more as well. I want to redo Little Miss Fortune, and I also want to refilm What Remains of Edith Finch, because last time I did it, it was all out of order for some reason, and the sound wasn't that great, so I want to do it again. So if you would like some of that, if you want to watch, subscribe to the YouTube. If you're watching this on, what the hell's the app called? Anchor. I was thinking Andor. I was like, not Andor. No, if you're watching it on Anchor. I don't know. If you're watching on that, stay tuned for next time. I will be editing a bit later for the YouTubes, so don't worry about that. But thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next time. I love you guys. I'll see you later. Love you. Bye!